They've been used for centuries for ceremonies, hunting, sports, wars, as well as entertainment, decoration. But nowadays we kind of use them for scaring people one day a year. Unless you're a serial killer. There are tons of scary and famous masks out. Ghostface, Michael Myers, MF Doom, The Mask. Even our favorite show, Goosebumps, has a very famous mask. You may have heard of it. It's called, The Haunted Mask. Probably the most famous episode and story out of Goosebumps. Well, what if I told you that Stein wrote another story about a scary mask and it might be better than his first one? I'd be lying, it's not better, but it's still pretty interesting. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Haunting Hour episode, The Black Mask. And yes, there is a Batman villain with the same name, and no, they're not similar. If you are new here and don't know what The Haunting Hour is, it's a kids horror anthology show that aired from 2010 to 2014 on a now defunct channel called The Hub. It was created by R.L. Stein, who's known for his popular book series turned TV show, Goosebumps. The Haunting Hour is known as a darker version of Goosebumps and is one of the scariest kid shows of all time. With its eerie visuals, some actually terrifying monsters, and pretty dark twist endings to the episodes, this show really does have it all. They take short stories from some of Stein's other books, like one so conveniently named The Haunting Hour, and another one called The Nightmare Hour. I just realized they're not in my background. Today we're taking a look at the 13th episode of the series, The Black Mask. The episode is based off of one of the short stories in the Nightmare Hour book, and it has the lamest art in the book. I mean, I guess it's kinda cool, but this is the same book that has this, and this, and this. Yeah, it's probably the least scary cover, let's be honest. The show does a pretty good job at adapting the story, but of course there are some differences that we will go over at the end of the video. And just a heads up, this is one of the few episodes in the series where the actors don't appear in another episode of The Haunting Hour, but it does have someone that you might recognize. Madison Pettis plays Julie in this episode, and she was in another R.L. Stein movie, mostly ghostly, as Tara. She was also all over Disney Channel in the early 2000s, and a really popular character in the greatest show of all time, Cory in the House, as well as one of the main characters in the greatest sports movie of all time, The Game Plan. Did I just make the same joke twice in a row? You bet your ass I did. But that's all I have for an intro, so let's quit yapping and get into the episode. We start the episode with these three hooligans trying to break into a creepy old house that has a window open for some reason. The one on the lookout is named Rob, and he is the only one that seems to have an issue with them breaking and entering. But the lockpicker, Bill, claims that the house has been empty for many years, so they shouldn't be scared of anything. And as he says that, Bill manages to pick the lock with his library card. Like, I know you could do that with like regular doors, but how the hell did he pick the deadbolt with that? Inside, the house is pretty eerie, and Bill claims that the house is over 100 years old, so it's destined to be a little creepy inside. And they take a look around at all the old, odd stuff that was left behind by the previous owner. Rob is a bit of a scaredy cat, and he's obviously terrified of the house, and it only gets worse when the other two tell the legend that is attached to the house. They claim that a woman died in the house while waiting for her dead husband to return home. He was an explorer, but he vanished during an expedition. So she lived there alone, patiently waiting, sitting by the window,
till the day she died.
Okay, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but that shit didn't happen. If it wasn't already obvious they're just trying to scare Rob because he's a little scaredy cat, I'm sure the woman that lived there may have lost her husband, but then just lived her life out in the house as a hoarder. At least she hoards interesting stuff and not literal trash. The kids make their way down into the creepy old basement, where they immediately see a lot of stuff and start rummaging through it like it's their own. But while they're looking around, Rob notices that there's a furnace, and it's on. Well, they don't mention that it's on, but to me, that's an instant indicator that someone's probably in the house with them. That or there's somebody that is coming around and checking on the house every so often. They all find some interesting things like vintage clothes, old toys, and board games, and Bill notices that a lot of the stuff is souvenirs from around the world. So maybe the story he told earlier was true. I'm still skeptical. What? They're old and retired. What if they did some traveling to pass the time? Old people do it all the time. As they look around, Bill finds something very interesting. It looks like a mask. A pretty creepy mask. Kind of looks like they just molded it out of an old man's face. It's eerie. Bill throws the mask on for a second, and he sees two kids dressed in really old clothes, almost like pilgrimish clothing. It only lasts for what seems like a couple of seconds, but based off of his friends' reactions, it could have been a little more time. Bill couldn't hear anything his friends were saying or see anything they were doing while the mask was on, and he's just confused about what just happened to him. He explains to his friends what he saw, but they didn't see two kids, and they have no idea what he's talking about. And of course, he's already proven himself to be a bit of a prankster, so they just think he's pulling another prank trying to scare them. And even though he's acting pretty freaked out, they don't believe him. So Julie proves that he's pranking them by also putting on the mask. And of course, the same thing happens to her, except she can see the kids setting up and playing the board game. Once again, it only lasts a couple of seconds until Bill pulls her out of the vision again so they can discuss what it could possibly mean. Based on the way everything looked, they think it happened in the past, maybe even when the house was first built 100 years ago. Well, by they, I mean Bill and Julie, because Rob has no idea what's going on still. So Julie tells him,
I think the black mask has a special power.
"Oh, are you sure that's black? It looks a little more green to me, honestly." Maybe it was to try and avoid all the blackface comments that I'm still going to get on this YouTube video. Yeah, I know you're thinking of a blackface joke. Do better. The mask obviously has the power to let you see into the past, and of course Rob wants to give it a spin. Despite his friends warning him, he puts on the mask and sees the kids playing the game, then running and hiding from someone, who rolls out a mat of weapons with a creepy smile across his face. This vision freaks Rob out completely. Probably should have listened to his friends. And he slams the mask down on the table and tells them that he saw the kids and a creepy man with a lot of sharp tools.
He had all those pointy tools like Jack the Ripper or something.
Jack the Ripper?
Well, what if I was Jack the Ripper?
I hate that that is immediately what I think of now when I hear Jack the Ripper. Right after Rob tells them what he saw, they hear some loud banging coming from upstairs. So they finally grow some brains and sneak out of the house, while theorizing it was something as simple as window shutters banging on the windows, or the house being haunted.
Black mask is haunted. Why not the little house?
He's got a point, you know. Nevertheless, they quietly make their way out, and just in time, because they weren't alone. A man walks over and grabs a hammer with the same creepy smile that Rob saw in the vision earlier. Told ya. I was not surprised at this reveal at all. Why would somebody leave a lit fire in a furnace if no one was there? What are they gonna warm up? The rats? The bugs? Bill and Rob go to a house. Hopefully it's one of their houses. Of course, they're still talking about the weird past-seeing mask and why it was showing them the kids in the basement. Even with their two big brains working together, they ultimately don't know how it works unless they investigate it for themselves. Luckily for us, Bill has already shoved it in his backpack. Good job, kleptomaniac. He wants to see what it will show them if he puts it on in his room. So he once again slides the mask on and it doesn't work. It seems to only work inside the old house. They're both a little bummed that it doesn't work everywhere, but Rob does open up a little bit and he says that he feels a strange connection to the kids that he saw in the mask, and he feels a strong need to help them, and Bill feels the same way. Cut back to the outside of the house, and they aren't there for nefarious reasons this time. They just want to put the creepy mask back where it belongs and then leave. But as they were about to do that, Julie stops them and talks about how she also feels a connection to the kids, and she just wants to put the mask on one more time and see if she can possibly help them. It is a little strange that they all had this weird need to help the kids. So they do what she asks and they hand her the mask, and she sees a vision of the kids dying. Cut to them outside of the house looking hella bummed out. Julie is pretty upset about what she saw, but she still didn't see the creepy man that Rob claimed he saw in his vision. Just the ceiling caving in on all the kids.
None of this makes any sense.
You're telling me, man. I mean, we have the kids playing a game and then hiding from a creepy dude, and then the roof caves in and kills them all. Well, there's a little bit of a story there, actually. They're still seriously confused about why the mask is showing them these images and why it's choosing them, until Rob theorizes that maybe the mask wants them to go back in time and save the kids. Somehow. He thinks that if maybe they could send them a message to somehow warn them to not go in the basement, then maybe the mask can give them the message with its wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. It sounds a bit far-fetched, but it just might work. So Bill goes back into the creepy house alone this time, and he drops the note off in the board game that they saw the kids playing. Then to check and see if their theory worked, he has to put the mask on one last time. So he slides the mask on his head and sees both the foundation cracking and the creepy guy attacking the kids. Freaked out, he drops the mask and runs outside to meet up with the other two. He says the note didn't work, so there has to be another way to help them. But that's when they hear banging nearby. They walk around the corner and they see a man putting up a sign in the yard, and Rob instantly recognizes him as the man in the basement. But that doesn't make any sense, because that would mean the man was at the house 100 years ago. So there's no way he could still be alive today.
Then he must be a ghost.
Or their family has been caretakers of the house for over 100 years. It happens, he could just be a great-great-grandson to the creepy guy that was in the vision. But like I said before, Rob is a scaredy cat and he gets too freaked out by the sight of the creepy guy and skedaddles his way back home. While Julie and Bill discover that the house has been sold, and that means everything will either be moved out or thrown away really soon. So if they want to help the kids, they have to do it ASAP. They head down into the basement to try and think of a way to communicate with them.
Hello? Hello, is anyone there?
Really, dude? You might as well have done this. Hello? Oh, I didn't expect you to be here. Yeah, sure, I'll hold. Bill theorizes that if they recreate the scene that they see in The Mask, then maybe the mask will bring the past to them, and that will let them help the kids out. So they call up Rob to come help them set up the basement, and even though he's still scared of the smiling man, he decides to be brave and come help. Let's go, buddy. Good for you, bad. Good for you. So Rob sneaks his way back into the house and finds that they're already almost finished setting it up. And they're also dressed like the people in the vision. And suddenly things start looking a little too familiar to Rob. Suddenly they hear a loud noise coming from upstairs. So they quickly hide as the smiling man slowly makes his way down the stairs and rolls his tools out beside the furnace. And once again, things are looking a little too familiar to Rob. The man somehow sees the kids in their amazing hiding spots. I'm surprised they even saw them. They're almost camouflaged. That's when the furnace begins to hiss and shake, and it explodes. Rob then realizes that they were wrong. They weren't there to save the kids from dying, but save the man from dying. So he tackles the old guy out of the way and saves him from being crushed by the pillar. Then everything suddenly makes sense. They cared about the kids because they were the kids. And the mask wasn't showing them the past, but it was showing them the future. And that's where the episode ends. It's kind of an abrupt ending, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it just cuts off, and I was like, that's it? But I like this episode. It's a very simple episode, got a simple plot, and a fun MacGuffin with kind of a nice twist at the end. I will say, I think this is probably the lamest episode out of the first 2 seasons of the show. I mean, it does have pretty tough competition with Lily D, Dreamcatcher, Scarecrow, Mascot, Pumpkinheads. I can go on. But I think The Mask is really fun and really eerie. But nothing else in the episode was really spooky at all. I think it would have been fun if they added like ghost kids or something that they should save. Or maybe they get a visit from the previous owner who is now a ghost and she points them to the mask to save the handyman. I don't know, just give me a little something to spice things up. A lot of this episode is just the kids sitting around saying the same things over and over again, and then throwing mildly funny jokes here and there.
I prefer chic over creep.
Which is my job. Don't try to take my job away, Haunting Hour. That's a threat. Now, I know this is a kid's show, and I shouldn't expect, like, Conjuring level scary all the time from this show, but The Haunting Hour is known for having some pretty creepy stuff that rivals even some adult horror movies. So comparing it to other episodes within the series, this episode is a little underwhelming. But I do like how when they look inside of the mask, it looks like an old film reel. I can kind of see why it tricked the kids into thinking it was a vision from the past rather than the future. And I also don't understand how all of them were seeing visions from Rob's POV. Shouldn't they see what happened from their own POV when they put the mask on? I think that would make more sense, right? But yeah, I was a little upset about how lame this episode was because the story is actually pretty scary. I do think the episode adapted the story well, detail-wise at least, but they just failed to capture the same terror that the story had in the episode. For one, the story actually happens in Robbie's house. They just moved into a really old house and the kids find the mask in the basement. So it kind of hits harder knowing that something horrific happened in his house. Kind of adds a little bit more tension because, you know, it happened just downstairs. It's a little scary that people died downstairs. There's also better lore to the house than in the episode. And rather than the handyman just being a mysterious figure that appears at one point in the story, he actually has a name and talks to the kids. He tells Robbie a story about a little girl who actually fell into the furnace and burned alive. Okay, I can see why they didn't put that one in the episode. Granted, he does admit that that story was fake, but still, it's a little intense. And the story ends very differently from the episode. Instead of the kids saving someone's life, they die. Yeah, I'm not kidding. A pillar falls on them and all 4 of them die. The roof just caves in and kills them. So yeah, it's probably a good change that they saved somebody. I mean, Dead Bodies, the episode Dead Bodies got so much backlash that they had to make another episode reversing what they did. So just imagine if they killed 3 kids in this episode. That'd been crazy. Also, the mask in this story is very different. Rather than a hard plastic, maybe ceramic mask? What is this mask made of? It's a small piece of cloth that just goes over your eyes, kind of like Zorro or the Ninja Turtles. But I do like that they changed the mask. It's actually pretty scary in the episode. It's kind of got like an uncanny vibe kind of thing going on. And I think it would have looked really goofy if they just had a cloth going over their eyes like they did in the story. Also, another detail that you probably didn't know is there was another character in the story. It's a girl named Valerie. She's just not in the episode at all, but she doesn't do much, so I can see why they just omitted her. I also think this episode has the least amount of cast members in it. There's only 4. It's the 3 kids and the creepy old guy. There's only 4 in this episode. So yeah, the story was actually really good, really creepy. I could see why they wanted to make an episode out of it, but I think the little changes that they made just didn't work out as they intended, and it kind of hindered the episode a little bit. Like I said, if they kept the story inside of one of the kids' houses, it would have felt more personal and threatening than it being a random house on their street. They even had somewhat of a lame excuse for them wanting to help the kids in the episode. I feel a connection with them. Really? If I saw a vision of someone being killed from a collapsing pillar in the room I'm in, I'm getting the heck out of there. But yeah, good story in theory, but execution didn't do so well. I'm sorry that I didn't like it. I know a lot of people love this episode, but it just didn't hit for me. Make sure you read the short story. It's actually pretty good. I actually really liked it. Make sure you read all the stories in the Nightmare Hour. They're all really good. But yeah, that's all I got for you today. I have a Patreon. The $5 members get bonus content plus videos a day early, maybe some pictures of my cats, a Discord server, and your name right here on screen. And YouTube members are lumped in with them as well. Like the video if you like the video. Thank you for watching the video all the way through. I appreciate you all, and peace.